I can hear the countdown music playing in the background. Okay. Okay, let's kick this off. All right, thanks guys. I'm only too happy to bookend HubSpot's series of education lessons for startups. And we're going to talk today about what we call growth-driven design. If anyone can't hear me or can't see me, outside of their own disabilities, but it's a technical issue, feel free to just shout out. Cool. So let's begin. So what we're talking about today is how to make your marketing collateral and assets in such a way that they actually sell. Because you're a startup and you don't have all the resources in the world. So the small amount of assets you have and that you make initially need to sell. And it's very important for you guys to look a bit more established, that you look like you know what you're talking about. And so we're going to show you guys how to make your stuff today in a way that actually sells, and how to avoid some of the pitfalls that I've seen from some of the customers and startups that I've worked with over the years. What are you learning? You're learning how to make an informed decision about your marketing collateral. And because you're a startup and you're sort of a one-man or one-woman show at the moment, you don't have all the time or resources in the world. So you're not going to be able to learn how to use professional design software. So you might be doing it yourself in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Publisher. You're probably doing your own business cards. Or you might be hiring someone on the cheap just to get your first kind of set of assets out there. And today we're going to learn how to make an informed decision. So how to talk with that designer, how to make your Google ads or make your PowerPoints more sticky, how to make your business cards more sticky. In terms of do you have to do anything today, just listen and just behave. Questions at the end. So, about your marketing assets. The purpose of your marketing assets is to demonstrate your practical wisdom to the customer. So you're going to show that you know what you're talking about. And that you're not a chancer, and that they can have faith and trust in the product or service that you're bringing to them. And you're going to show that you respect the customer, that you've taken the time and you've put in the effort to come to them with something of value. So we're going to avoid a situation where you're giving them something that looks like you made it yourself. Cool. So we're going to avoid just scribbling the word greed in red crayon across a newspaper and saying please give me money for my services. So lesson one, here begins the lesson. The most important overall rule is that you want to match the style to your customer persona. So I'm presuming that the good folk here at HubSpot have you well educated and have drilled into you the importance of doing customer personas based on their geography, based on perhaps their age or their seniority or their position, based on their budget authority, all that stuff. And you really want to design your stuff so that you meet the customer on their terms. You don't want to force anything on them. So it's important to do a bit of research beforehand, figure out what their kind of design language is, how they see the world, and express your idea to them in those terms. So the customer is the boss, not you. There's kind of three ways to make stuff. And these are kind of the three ages of modern design. You've got the old way, which is when people were first kind of introduced to digital concepts. And so what happened was we made real world things, or rather we made digital things look like the real world versions. So if you got an app that was like a radio app, it would have actual digital radio knobs and a tuner. Here you can see the first iPhone calculator. And as you can see, it has shaded buttons. It's like the buttons are raised off the page. So there's a generation out there that expects things to be like this. And then you have the more modern take on things, which is where all that stuff is totally eschewed. And it's just what we call flat design, and it's based on pure clarity. And there's a younger generation of less established businesses that expect to see things presented to them like this. So let's look at some real world examples. So the kind of older way of doing things, where you've got a 3D pie chart and an actual physical human standing beside it as if presenting. There's a generation that expects things to be like this. And this is good for people who are kind of over 50, but within an organization who've been there maybe 10 or 15 years. And this is how things were when they started using computers first. And this is how they like their presentations to be. They value things this way. So if you're talking to someone in an established company, especially at kind of a C-suite level, this is how you want to present your stuff. If you go to a younger company with this, or sort of someone under 35 or under 30, they will have never seen this. It would be like showing them a record player or the first automobile. They won't recognize it at all. There is a pretty firm generational divide on this stuff. If we look at the newer version of things, where everything is totally flat, this is good for startups, and it's good for less established businesses. If you go to a company that's fewer than 5 years old, and you go to them with the old type of design, with the 3D and the shading, they'll think that you're from a different world. And people on both sides of this fence do not recognize and do not accept the other kind of design. So you really want to match your style to the customer you're targeting. I often tell clients to have 2 of every animal. Have an old version and have a new version of every flyer, of every business card. And with HubSpot, you can have A/B versions of your website as well. So you can direct different customers to different websites based on the design language they expect to see. Now, how to use fonts. I put this in because this is something I talk about at any available opportunity. The truth is that people kind of neglect this, but the truth is that the font you choose are the clothes you wear to your interview with the client. They determine the tone, and they determine how seriously you take the client. So we've got 4 cardinal rules that if I catch you breaking, I will come to your place of business or your home. I will drag you from your showers and beds, and it won't end well. So the first rule is don't use Arial and don't use Comic Sans. This is a really simple rule. The answer is why. The question is why. And the answer is that these fonts are really difficult to read. There is nothing good about these. These were originally different fonts. Microsoft didn't want to pay the license, so they took the letters from these fonts and broke off bits of them until they were almost unrecognizable. And that's where we get Arial and Comic Sans, and they are nearly twice as difficult to read as any other font on your computer. So don't use these 2. Second thing I'd say is don't make these things yourself in Microsoft Word. Pay a small amount of money to get someone else to do it. I recommend, if you're in Ireland, to use reads.ie. They're pretty good. Or if you want to do it yourself, you can do this in Microsoft Publisher, or there are a bunch of online tools. Don't do it in Microsoft Word. It won't print right. Third thing I'd say is don't put text on top of an image. The image you're using is important. It could be an image of your product. It could be an image of you. It could be an image to set the tone, like one of a business or an office. And that your text is important as well. And you put a lot of work and thought into this. And when you put text on top of an image, you corrupt them both. And it rarely works that well. And the fourth thing I'd say is don't try to be decorative. This is usually the result of someone trying to get what they call a bit of pop, or to really emphasize something in their marketing, or to be friendly. But it usually ends up just being difficult to read and corrupting the message. So if you want to create emphasis in your marketing, if you want to call out word, or you want to pull the eye, to focus it on one thing on this whole flyer, you use fonts. You use high contrast. So in Microsoft Word, and I argue against using Microsoft Word, you get 2 of every font. You get regular and you get the bold version. But they're very similar. There's not enough contrast in those. So that's why we suggest people they use a professional font, so you can have a lot of contrast between the very thin versions and the very heavy versions. And if you look to the image on the right, it's after this hot mess I found online. It's burned the eyes out of you ad for a carpet store, which breaks every design rule known to man, is they try to emphasize everything. But each font is the same weight. No font is really any bolder than any other font on there. So they try to do with color, and they try to do with size, and they just made an absolute mess of it.
Mick Mattress, no? His shop front is like that.
Mick Mattress, he is, yeah. Again, I'd say there's a generational thing. There's a threshold you cross where I think, like, I'm 32, I've stopped listening to any new music, you know, name of the game. So there's this guy, whoever made this ad, tried to emphasize everything, and it just didn't work. You got to keep it clear, and if you want to emphasize, use your font. Don't necessarily use colors or shapes. So this is an example of something done really badly. So this is where someone took it, looked at an image and said, that's cool. And they looked at their text and said, I like this text. And they put one on top of the other, and this is unreadable. This is like 4 o'clock in the morning in an underground nightclub in Amsterdam territory. This does not sell. Another one. Don't use all caps. People do this in their business cards. They do it in their headings and their flyers. They often do it on their website. And they do it often for the most important piece of information. And the truth is that words are more than a collection of letters. Words are shapes. The human eye doesn't read the first letter than the second letter. It sees a shape it's familiar with. And you can see I've done a crude outline of the words here. So the word capitals, when it's in regular case, has a shape. When you put it all in uppercase, it's just a rectangle. Politicians do this for some reason. They make their they make their surname on posters all caps. And it's harder to remember. It's terrible for branding because people don't remember the shape of your word mark. They just see a rectangle. Using all caps is also about 150% more difficult to read. So if you have a sentence all in regular case, which is why we developed words like in letters this way, and you have the same sentence typed in all caps, the one in all caps is it will take you nearly twice as long to read. So I strenuously recommend avoid doing this. There is one scenario where it's okay to use all caps, and that's if you're selling luxury products. So if you're selling expensive jewelry or something, or you want this to be a very high-end product, you can put it in all caps, but you increase all the spacing between the letters, and suddenly it looks way more refined. This one rule will ruin your life standing at bus stops and train station platforms, or anywhere there's a lot of ads, because you're going to see this, like if you go to Brown Thomas today for your Christmas shopping, or you see any kind of high market ad, you're going to see this trick. Cool. How to list features. So if you've got a flyer out there that says you should buy my printer ink for these 6 fantastic reasons, chances are some of these reasons are more important than the other reasons. We tend to think that the order of importance, like a guest list, is top to bottom or first to last, but that's not how the human eye actually works. The real order of importance is outside in. So we see the extremities first, and the stuff that's buried in the middle, we give only kind of 20 or 30% of our attention to that. So here's an example. On the left, you have the traditional way of doing it, which is the first 2 things are the most important features, and then kind of the less important feature, and the not important stuff at the bottom. But the human eye works from the outside in, so you want to bookend it with the most important features, like so your best feature at the top and the fantastic sale price at the end, and then narrow in and just bury the not so important stuff in the middle, because no one's going to read that anyway. It's outside in. And you're going to get a lot more traction from your marketing collateral if you apply this rule. Next up, 2 of every color. So people spend a ton of money and a lot of time trying to figure out a color scheme for their brand or for their business. You guys are just starting out, right? You don't need a 40,000 job from some design company in the Bay Area where I used to work. I guarantee our work is not of that value. You just need 2 of every color. So if your color is blue like HubSpot, you've got a dark orange and you've got a light orange. If your color is purple like a political party or red, you just need a 2-tone color scheme. There's a website called flatuicolors.com where you can just go, pick your color, and this color will work in print, it'll work on screen, and all the colors will match as well. And half of all startups just use this website, grab their colors, it does them for the first year or 2, it looks pretty professional, and you're good to go. So don't go mixing like 15 different colors and just burning the eyes out of people like in the first business card you hand them. You only need 2. Now, I'm going to talk very quickly a little bit about graphic design. We're not going to show you how to use any of the software because there are billions of Photoshop tutorials out there. But I am going to show you for anyone who has to make a PowerPoint presentation or anyone wants to improve their business cards, or maybe you're making your first Google ads, the basics of a good layout and how to improve a lot of the stuff you've probably already done. So the first rule is called the rule of thirds. And this is the first thing that any graphic designer or photographer or web designer will learn. So at Christmas this year, you're probably going to have to take a bunch of photos of your family or the dog you got for Christmas or whatever bad idea someone had to put on the Christmas tree. Don't put stuff in the middle. Stuff goes slightly to the side. There's a rule about this. It goes back to Roman times, and it looks like this. You take your canvas, you chop it up into a little grid like this of 3 columns and 3 rows, and you try and put the important thing where the rows meet. And this is called the rule of thirds. And this will instantly improve every single Photoshop, anything you make on Photoshop. It'll improve every single PowerPoint presentation you make. It will improve how your business cards look. If you're making Google ads, everything will suddenly look way more professional. And if you're hiring a graphic designer, but you're doing it kind of on a budget, if they're not following this rule, now you know that they're not really a graphic designer because they haven't read the first rule of graphic design. So here's an example of how a PowerPoint presentation can look if you just follow this rule. It instantly looks way better. And where these lines meet are where the human eye naturally goes in this kind of setting. So That's the rule of thirds. Here's another example of how you can display statistics. If you're trying to get your point across in the first couple of slides, looks incredibly professional, and all they did was follow this simple grid. Now, second thing, visual hierarchy. So this is what I've learned from years of working with startups and even established businesses trying to put together some marketing assets for them, is that they want everything on the page to be really important. But that is not possible, because when everything is equal, nothing is readable. I'll refer you back to that ad for the carpet store a couple of slides back, where nothing stood out. There was no single call to action. There was no single value statement. People's attention span is short. They don't have a lot of time to look at your stuff. So you have half a second to get your point across. So there's going to be 3 pieces of information on your marketing collateral. Small, bigger, biggest. Whatever the most important thing is, make that by far the biggest. And that's what's going to catch their attention. And then everything smaller than that is just supporting information. So for example, the first one, you've got your headline up top, nice big, nice and clear, although they do use all caps. This is a common mistake. The second one we know is an ad for a beachfront. And the third one is an ad, is the name of the store, Barbara's Pops, which is a cool new ice cream place. But it's really clear from first glance at each of these what this flyer is about, and usually kind of what they're offering is. So whatever the most important thing that you're trying to communicate in your marketing asset is, make that like 30–40% of the ad, and everything else is just supporting. Don't make everything the same size. So this is an example of how to use size and scale. I think most people would agree that the one on the right is way more effective at communicating. Another way you can put emphasis is to use color and contrast. And again, you can do this even with a two-tone color scheme. It's pretty cool. So you can see on the left, 4 shape isn't quite enough. But if we look at the one on the right-hand side, we can call out the most important thing just by changing the color. And this is a very minimalist ad. There's only 3 colors in this entire thing. There's the background, there's the shaded version of the guys, and then there's the one standout guy. And this is a pretty effective communications tool without a lot of graphic design effort. So if you stick to the rules a lot of the time, it's not going to take a lot of effort or a large budget. Again, visual hierarchy. This is an example of how to do this on the web. So you can give people a range of options, particularly on your pricing page. But if you want to make a recommendation or tell the customer what you want them to do next, you can use color. You can bring something to the front. But again, you can see that the option that this website wants me to choose has been given far more prominence than anything else. So the main one is the brand's primary color. It's leaning to the front, and the other 2 are literally grayed out.
Quick one there from
Sure.
Johnny in the chat. This is something every startup has to go through, is the pricing page. He sees on some pages like 4 tiers as opposed to 3.
Yeah, that's
a premium model as well as, like, say, bronze, silver, gold. What about, what's your experience
so
on that?
I'd say it depends on your business model. I know most companies tend to do it in 3s. So if you look at, for example, HubSpot, you've got your CRM, then you've got your sales stack, and then you've got your marketing stack. And then also within each stack, so CRM is free, but within sales, you've got your kind of free version, then you've got your starter, and then you've got your pro, and the same is true of marketing. I'm a firm believer that good things come in 3s, that people don't have a lot of time or energy to spend researching your pricing, and they just kind of want to get started right away. So I'm also a fan of the freemium model, just to get them on board, and also to collect that email address. I see people with 4 as well. I tend to think that companies with 4 isn't the result of some brilliant marketing strategy, but it's the result of a committee not able to reach a decision. That's been my experience. Like, if you can't get your offering down into 3 tiers or 3 price points, I think you're not working hard enough. So.
And Anna just wants to know if it should always be the medium level that's the standout piece.
Yeah. So this is a rule that goes back to Aristotle, where people like to choose the one in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you're in politics, what people like to do is they like to cast their opponents as these guys are way to one side and these guys are way to the other side, and we're just in the middle. People like to choose the center. Henry Kissinger, when he was giving advice to Nixon, he would decide in advance what he wanted Nixon to do. And he would go to Nixon with like 5 options. And he would say, well, one is we could invade China. And Nixon would say, well, that's obviously really extreme. And Kissinger would say, well, we could just surrender our armed forces around the world. Nixon's like, well, I'm not doing that. Nixon's like, well, I've got this kind of in between thing you might like. And Nixon's like, that sounds great. Let's do that. People like to choose the middle. So always, I would say always figure out what you want people to do, right? And then build around that. So this company probably wanted me to sign up for $9.99. They figured that was going to be the best, most likely price point to convert me at. And then they come up with options around it. So we come up with a cheaper one, and then we'll come up with a more expensive one, so we can put this one in the middle and make this one seem like the normal, fairest one. So yeah. So the answer to that is yes. I would say always go for aim for the center.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Cool. So any more questions?
No.
Cool. Okay.
5 dialed in.
Cool. Typographic hierarchy. So this one for your business cards. Not all things are created equal, and you want to stand out in the world. The most important thing on your business card is your name. Make your name the largest thing. So they may not remember your product or service. They may remember an outline of what you do. But like 60 to 80% of your business card should be your face and your name. And the other details will come from speaking to you. So you don't need to put any blurb on there. You just need face, name, and then very small website, phone number, info at, whatever, email. So name and face, by far the most important things. Because if they remember that, then they'll take the time to examine the rest of the card for the website and the email address. Your main selling point with these things is them seeing the card and remembering, oh yeah, Jane, I was speaking to her. Or remembering you by your name. So that's how I would suggest any startup who's out there doing sales for the first time to how to construct their business card.
There's a quick question there. There's a lot of like hairy-fairy titles these days in terms of like recommendations of a title on a business card. A lot of people are writing like growth hacker or unicorn.
Okay.
Miner.
Line them up and shoot them. The truth is that those things don't ring true. If someone sees growth hacker, anyone who knows what a growth hacker is doesn't believe you. And anyone who doesn't know what it is afraid of you because they don't know what it does because you've got the word hacker in there and you're asking to come in and get involved. Like, don't do it. Like there was a time when this is cool. It was up there with like pink trousers and like punk haircuts.
3 days cool.
Yeah, but like I think that time has passed. It doesn't ring true. What you're saying if you say you're a growth hacker is you're saying I probably don't have a job. And I have no definable skill. If you're a gold card member of the internet, just say that. So I like to say to people, I'm Rob, I'm here from the internet. That's what I do. But I wouldn't say growth hacker. I would say just describe what you do.
Yeah. So as an owner and a CEO of a company, like CEO is a good one to put.
CEO is good because people know that you might just be a CEO of one or a company of one. Don't put down managing director if you're not actually managing people at your company.
Gotcha.
Established businesses, the people in there worked hard to earn the term manager of something. So they don't like it when you say manager and you're not really. They see you as a spoofer. I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
Cool. Okay, this slide is not useful. Okay, this is a good one for your PowerPoint and for your Google Ads and also for your marketing emails. This is actually how I've seen a lot of HubSpot emails come into me. So this is what we call the inverted pyramid. It's an upside down triangle. So at the top you grab attention, you narrow it down to build a bit of anticipation, and at the end you put your call to action. So here's a real world example of this, right? Take a look at the one on the right. You got your big wide picture at the top, and then it narrows down to your heading, and then some blurb, and then at the very end your call to action. So if you're stuck for inspiration or stuck for an idea, how do I do this slide? I want to get people to convert or perform an action. The inverted pyramid is a really good one for when you don't have a lot of space, like you just have one slide or one ad or one spot in an email. If you don't have a lot of time. So I know you see this. Every marketing email you get with a picture follows this rule. So I apologize if I've ruined any of the magic you might encounter in your daily lives.
Does this quick question there again from Anna? Does this, if she was told like with big pictures the start of the email, if they're not on the first fold, it causes distraction from clicking a call to action?
There's conflicting wisdom around a lot of this stuff. Pictures like this, the one on the right, I would use that not for introduction emails or for sales emails. I would use that for regular subscribers who are looking forward to getting your mail.
Okay.
If it's sales emails, I stick to entirely text. If you're doing a mail blast to potential new customers, just text. Strip out every bit of code for that maximum deliverability. Just text.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. There we go. Going to talk a little bit about social media and some things you can do right now to improve it. So sometimes people will find you via social media. They'll see you tweeting a hashtag or at an event or at a trade expo. And rather than make people jump around the web to contact you, there's a new thing you can do, which is you can put a button to contact you on Twitter, send you a direct message. What you do is you make a tweet, you put that button in that tweet, and you pin it to the top of your profile. So someone says, I'm at a trade event, I see Cara tweeting something interesting. I'm like, Cara. I go to her profile, and right up top is an invitation to message her. And so people can contact you right there and then. So before they lose the impulse, before it goes away. This is also very good for customer support.
Gotcha.
So I know O2 do this in the UK. The O2 customer support Twitter profile does this. If you just Google, how do I put a DM in my Twitter profile, is the first couple of results. It's really simple. We started doing it at Overcast, and we're actually getting like new people contacting us via Twitter because it's right there. So while the impulse takes them, they can jump right in.
So you're providing support via Twitter.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah. So it's always good just to meet the customer on their own terms. If they're on Twitter, meet them on Twitter.
Meet them on their own terms. Okay, that's a good takeaway.
Now, I want to talk about some social media pitfalls and how your brand can look like you don't know what you're doing. And the best example of this in the world is the Fianna Fáil Twitter account. Now, it's gotten better in recent times, but for 2014, 2015, it was just gold. So, Twitter.
So does anybody follow the Fianna Fáil Twitter account outside of Robert?
It's gotten okay in recent times, but if you scroll back, no, I don't imagine they do. I'm involved in politics. I follow everybody. So this is an example of why it's important to look like you're not doing it yourself, So Twitter likes wide images, and it's going to cut off the top and the bottom of the image. So here's a rule: if you're taking the photo for Facebook, hold your phone upright, right? If you're taking the photo for Twitter, turn your phone sideways or landscape, and things will be okay. As we can see, poor councillor Jennifer Cuff here, I think it's based out in Wicklow, was sadly decapitated at her own selection convention. This happens all the time, right? Another slide. So for Twitter, turn your phone sideways or crop it. You can crop these things in your phone, but it's a simple thing to avoid. I see it all the time. Now, don't put text in the image on social media, right? You get a space for text and you get a place to put up an image. Take a picture and then type the text in the area. Don't put text on the image. This is 111 words inside a tweet. Wow. So at first glance, it's a long story about the rain. The fact is, you don't get second glance. So this is Mayo TD, Tara Cleary, on a rainy day at Shannon Airport, I think. Knock Airport, where it's just miserable outside. And they put a Shannon like it's just impossible to read. Like, it's just terrible. And he got this terrifying grin on his face, like it's mad. Like, this is demented. So yeah, this is why you want to hire a designer who will caution you against these things. So text area for text, image for picture. Now, Facebook, like newspapers, has what we call an above the fold area. So once you put in a certain amount of text, it's going to get cut off. People will have to click see more. So what I suggest is you take the most important thing and put it at the start. Or even better, if you can keep it to the word count or to the character count, which is quite short. I think it's like 120 characters. It's about the length of maybe twice the length of a tweet. So you don't get the important stuff clipped off. So yeah, just be aware of that. This is another example of why not to use text on an image. I believe there's a prize if you can free Micheál Martin from this terrifying prison of words that he's in. So yeah, this is an example of why you don't put text on an image. I can't believe that someone looked at this and said, yeah, wait, let's just make it italic. Okay, good, and now let's just put a shadow on there. No, I know, I can still see him. Like, I don't know. Someone looked at this and said, yep, it's done, it's perfect. So text for text area, image for image area. Christ. This is an example, one done really well, and this is why You want to have someone who's young and social media savvy at your company. This is a guy who ran for president of the youth wing Fianna Fáil and won. And look how much clearer this is than this hot mess, right? He's using web colors, but the human eye reads kind of like zigzag left and right. So you get vote 1 and the guy's name. The name is not in all caps, so you'll remember his name. You read to the right, you look at his face. You look to the left, and you tell him why you should vote for him. And then you look to the right, and you can see how you get involved. So James did vote James Doyle, whatever. Right. So this is so much clearer. This is way better. And you'll notice that he's not like Superman 2 style, trapped in this terrifying sarcophagus of the Latin alphabet. So if you want to get your point across, people scrolling on Twitter and Facebook, they have half a second to take in your information. So they're not going to stop and read this. They're not. They're just going to keep going. If you're trying to get a point across, illustrate. Take a little bit of time, pay a designer 20 to 50 bucks, and get him to illustrate your point. This can be the cost of your service, your product, compared to other services. It can be the efficacy of your product compared to other products. It can be how much longer the ink that we sell will last in your printer.
Do you want a drink?
Me? Yeah, I'll drink.
I'll get one, yeah.
Sure.
Keep going.
Yeah. So this is a good one from one of the political parties saying, here's how many things that Fine Gael did or did not do. But it communicates a point in half a second. And this is far more effective than text. And also, you can tell that these guys have taken the time to communicate their message to me. They've said, you know what, I want Rob to know this. And so they've taken the time and put in the effort to do it well. Excuse me. I think this was actually from Fianna Fáil as well. So hit and miss. This is one from Fine Gael. This is terrific. And the best way to communicate something is to show change over time. Again, people only have half a second, and they're probably not even going to take in that this is about unemployment, or they're not going to take in the numbers. In the half a second they look at your tweet, they're going to know that something got better. Right? The general tone of this is something got a bit better, and they'll remember that. And if it's a positive thing, maybe they click in. And with something like this, you'll get a much higher conversion rate. You'll get more people visiting your profile on Twitter and Facebook, and you'll probably generate more traffic to your website out of this as well. So this is an example of something done really well. Now, how do you drive engagement on these platforms? Don't talk about yourself, talk about the customer, or invite engagement from them. So millennials tend to know this pretty well. They'll tweet something out and they will ask for feedback. They will say, what are your thoughts on this? Or they will run a poll. They will offer you the opportunity, thank you very much, to get involved. So always invite engagement, always invite feedback. And I would say the cardinal rule is don't just talk about yourself. Talk about the customer.
Just on that one there,
yeah.
See like Facebook now are...
Today I saw, they're actually trying to crack down on people doing things like this, so you'll have to get clever about it, basically.
So I just seen that, I was reading the other day, and I was posting right home, it said anything that actually asks for engagement is going to be downgraded by their algorithm, so it won't be seen.
So I read this on the train on the way in this morning, that Facebook are now actually trying to stamp this out. So, welcome to the internet, guys. My presentation is 3 hours old, and it's already out of date. Cool. There we go. So anyway, that's it from me today. So what I would do now is I'd like to hear, if any guys are available, I'd like to hear a bit more about any questions or any challenges you have around marketing assets or marketing stuff in general.
Sure, very good, Robert. Very well.
Thank you, Robert.
And I think there's quite a few takeaways first. What they usually do is...
So did we record that applause?
We did indeed.
Great, I'm going to make that my ringtone. Okay. Go on.
So, okay, thanks. There's not a lot of people on the call today, but there is a few. And I think there was a lot of takeaways from the call, primarily the thoughts around ghost-driven design, which was usually, I think, a complex topic. It
is, yeah. It was way too complex.
Yeah, so a great job on that. Any takeaways from you today, Gar?
That was, I think, just a lot of it was around design, and a lot of things I hadn't a clue about at all. So
yeah, we're trying to make everything better.
Yeah,
that's my general rule.
Yeah, so Anna says here that she uses Canva to do all her images. Is that
quite good? Yeah. As a user-friendly tool, without having to go down a program, Canva will get you through. Canva's a pretty good tool, and it's getting better. There's also a tool from Adobe called Adobe Spark, which is just an alternative to Canva. So if you want to do something and you can't do it on Canva, Adobe Spark is also quite good. It's good for the layperson to get, 80% of the way there.
Design Wizard is the Irish variation of Canva, based in Cork. Tell us, Niall, what's your question? You're unmuted. You can whiteboard here as well if you need.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah, just put it on the screen.
no questions. Thanks, Emil. That was very interesting. I'm getting a lot of takeaways. So great stuff. Thanks, Emil, Rob.
No trouble.
Unmuted.
You put the volume up and you'll be alright.
Cool.
You want to work
And that was me giving the feedback. Sorry about that.
Go again, Niall. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that was great. I'm just taking all the tips, the Adobe Spark and all of these other tools I need to look at. Just a bit of cleaning up to do in our assets. So just want to see how we can improve across the board.
Okay. Anna's wondering if you've ever applied for a job on a political party, Twitter, social media manager.
My comments about some of the ones I am involved in politics. I do some consulting work for Irish political parties here now. I do some work in the UK, and I do some work. Most of my work now is coming from Texas for the Republican Party over there. I have reached out in Ireland with sort of a please let me help you type thing. I'm pleased to say that every political party in Ireland now, with the exception of the Social Democrats, is doing a pretty good job. So most Fianna Fáil examples I used, in fairness, were kind of from 2014. I do follow them on Twitter, and the stuff I've seen now is generally much better. So yeah, most of my work doesn't come from Ireland. It's very hard to get paid in Ireland. Yeah, the UK and the US, they tend to have larger budgets, whereas the rules on fundraising and spending in Ireland are so tight. It's difficult. Yeah.
Quick one there for you. Like as a startup, where does growth-driven design come in terms of importance? From this course, we've looked at buyer personas, we've looked at sales, we've looked at pipeline. So is like growth-driven design something that comes in at the end, or?
I would do it at the end. I would spend some time working out my product, but then also my buyer personas, and then I'd say, right, who's my buyer persona, and then I would make it to them. Now, because I was a designer in a previous life, I was head of online design at a telco in the United States for nearly 2 years. It's second nature to me. So in a week, I can have a buyer persona, a product to fit it, or a service to fit it, and then a great website and great flyers and great business cards. So in regards getting to launch, it's really important. It's so important. Yeah. But I would do it at the end. I would do it last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. With Johnny, with business cards, is this not outbound?
Sure. Well, you can use the stuff. The principles, I guess, are pretty universal. So I'm figuring if you're learning inbound stuff, you probably have business cards as well. But yeah, business cards would probably be outbound. Yeah.
Okay.
Networking meetings and things. What are they called? BNI are quite good.
BNI?
BNI. They're an international business networking thing. They have meetings at like 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a business referral network. So if you're looking for referrals or trying to grow your business, they're quite good. They cost like $1,000 a year to join, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, but you keep so you're in a circle, and there's only one of every business, and you keep the business within that circle. I got a lot of my friends through the recession.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good, and it's worldwide. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good.
BNI. Okay, BNI. Oisín, is using a lot of black on your homepage a bad thing?
I need to see the homepage.
Is there's not a lot of black on your homepage, Oisín? Is that something you've changed recently?
But black can signal luxurious and
it can. It depends on tone and colors and things. Yeah.
Servicedoc.com is Oisín's page.
I remember that.
Let's see a big black background. Yes.
Yeah, this looks fine. This is above the fold. Yeah, this is fine.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You've updated it.
Yeah, this looks good. This is a WordPress website, and it looks fine.
Is there any tips you'd offer Oisín from straight off the back?
Using Arial in the here. So this is Arial up top. This is Arial. So I'm just going to close some stuff here. Take a look. Yeah, let's see if we can make you open sounds. There we go.
Oh, nice. So that's Sans.
Yeah, Open Sans. So it's just,
Open Sans.
if you want me to change that over for you, let me know. I'll do a quick job. Yeah. Do you know what fonts to use? Google have a free one called Open Sans, and it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sushin says.
Cool.
Can you give us your definition of growth-driven design?
Design that's fit to change the mind of your customer persona or your buyer persona.
Okay.
So you start with them and meet them on their terms. For the reason, like if I were applying for a job at Microsoft, like I'd never turn up in sandals and a tie-dye t-shirt, you know?
Yeah.
But if I was applying for a job at these guys, you know, I might.
Yeah.
So it's your design are the clothes you're wearing in what's essentially an interview with the customer when you're making your pitch. That's why HubSpot's website is extremely trendy.
Do you like it?
Oh, it's beautiful. The new website is beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah. I look at it almost every day. I'm like,
go away.
This. Yeah, it's really good.
Never expected that. Yeah. Amy Ryan's just dialing in there. Any questions from you, Amy, on growth-driven design? Here we go. She's unmuting. Is there anything you'd advise just off the back, like for startups, not to do when they're setting up their website, from like in terms of like WordPress versus Drupal?
Just use WordPress.
Okay.
So there are these drag and drop ones, like Wix.com, absolute nightmare.
No, it doesn't work in HubSpot either.
Oh, there's that very important caveat as well.
They're all HubSpot lines.
Things like Wix.com. To a lay person, it looks okay because you're kind of dragging and dropping on the front end, but Google is not going to rank you. Wix.com's code is very behind the scenes, is just this monolith of like your website will load probably very slowly. It's not terribly flexible. I can see the attraction of these things in terms of like, oh, well, I can do it myself quickly. If you want a website quickly, you can go to a website called GraphicRiver.net. I'm going to load it up here on the screen.
Great.
Right? I recommend WordPress because it works. Oh, no, sorry, it's not. It's Theme Forest. Yeah. Right? I'm going to go to WordPress, popular. Right? We got Jupyter. Right? $59 for a website. Right? I know what someone like me will do is come along, customize this, and charge you $5,000. These things you can kind of drag and drop. Right?
Where are you from?
I'm from Dublin. The art of remaining alive. So here's a website theme called Jupyter, right? It costs $60, maybe $70 after tax. Spend a day to 2 days setting it up, right? I mean, look, this looks amazing. This looks like a real website. You can drag and drop stuff way better. I strongly recommend WordPress. I cannot think of a platform better than WordPress for someone just starting off.
Anna just put in a question there. Thanks for the recommends. In terms of making, like she just mentioned, nowadays you've got things like a chat qualified lead as opposed to a qualified lead. So what's the connection between growth-driven design and the live chat within a website, or is it something you recommend?
I suppose it shows you that your website's kind of working.
Yeah.
If someone arrives at your website and makes a decision to contact you, it probably means you're probably on the right track.
Okay.
Simple as, yeah. I would see it as a good milestone, that it's working.
So Drift is a recommendation there, and HubSpot also has a chat.
Yeah.
Would you mind taking off Wattix.com, having a quick look at it? If that's
how do you spell it?
WATTICS, just for Amy Ryan.
Cool. Okay, good. Great. Yeah, it's fine. Absolutely fine. I mean, there's stuff I would do to make it more for me, but this is fine.
So one question she had was putting a bottom of the funnel call to action on the homepage. Is that something that you would recommend, or scroll down and add, or
maybe? I don't know. That's a good question. I think this seems to me that you're talking to kind of people who are well established in an established company, and they're going to like. Again, this is what I was saying about the nature of design before, going for the old kind of 3D shapes. So it looks a little bit older. It's not totally flat design, and that will appeal, I think, to the kind of customer. At my first guess, right? Yeah. That in that company. So you're talking to someone who's probably a little bit older. They have budgetary decision. They have the power to make these changes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this is fine.
They're in the process of launching a new website, so don't worry too much.
I will try to sleep. I will rest easy knowing that. No, I think this is pretty good.
Great. But I think you make a very good point there about even the fonts representing the buyer persona. This is like turnkey solution for, middle-aged,
Exactly.
C-suite, like you're saying. So that reflects that.
Totally, yeah. Is this the Avada WordPress thing?
Probably, right.
Oh, let's take a look. Oh no, it's custom made theme. Okay, cool.
Niall, will we take up Sam? Have a look. So do you want to take a quick look at Sam? It's like www.samm.ie. Just have a quick look. So again,
cool.
Relatively new website.
Cool. I like the buttons along the bottom.
How come?
It's all above the fold.
Mm-hmm.
So the trick of most websites is you want to put the most important stuff above the fold, because everything after that is above the fold is everything that's on the screen when you first load the website. So everything as far as down as it's easy with Sam is for me above the fold, but I've got a big screen. For most people, it's probably this green bar along the bottom. I think that's fine. If you want to get your value statement in there, you want to get your call to action in there, you've got some more actions down here. This is pretty good. This is better than like 90% of websites in the world. So many websites are just terrible. Like this is good practice.
That's a good score.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
I'd also have a look at Website Grader if you want to see the back end from HubSpot, websitegrader.com.
Ooh.
You can add and get your kind of overall score, e.g. a holistic view of how the back end works for marketing.
So that's my email, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
People who live in brick houses shouldn't throw stones.
Site is good.
Yeah, so you're actually really good.
There you go. And HubSpot said so.
No.
Yeah.
That's great news. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
No
Niall.
trouble. No trouble.
Quick one there. So Anna says she always looks at the About Us section of a website.
Some people do.
Yeah, it makes it like really personable.
Yeah.
What would you?
I would. This is just in my experience. 90% of people don't look at the About Us section.
I would as well.
But the 10% who do take it really seriously.
Yeah.
Really seriously.
Do you look at it, Gar?
Only if I'm looking to only with this looking to find where that base of it.
Exactly. Yeah, like at the contact page or something. Yeah. But So for the 10% who do, and that's just my anecdotal experience, they take it really seriously. I used to wonder why companies would put so much effort into this.
Yeah.
And it was because the people higher up the company really examined the About Us page. So the people above me, the C-suite guys, were putting all the effort into this and like nothing into the front page. And I was like, guys, it's all about the front page. And it's not. Different customers want different things. So yeah, you got to put in the work.
Thanks very much. Any more questions, guys? Gar, any more questions? Okay, sure, we'll leave you with 15 minutes to go. Listen, thanks very much, Robert. Really great job. I think it was really informative, well balanced, and a good way to end small group coaching. So we'll send everybody out the recordings in the next, before Friday anyway. So everybody has like the recordings. And thanks very much today for your help and your time. And all of you guys, thanks a million for joining the call. You're tough nuts and you're getting involved. So yeah, good job. See you later.